mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now.
Okay, how's it guys? My name's Ewan. Today I'm going to be tying what I call the Grunter Clouser. In truth, it's no different to a regular garden variety Clouser. I guess the secret to this fly is how we fish it. Let's give some credit to Marius Rousseau, who first introduced me to fishing for Grunter on Clousers, which he has been doing for a little while now. I think importantly though, there are a lot of variations of this fly, but there are two key elements to fishing it successfully, not only for Grunter but for other species, in my view, and that's fishing it on a floating line and fishing it on long leaders. Weight of this fly is also really important. You can fish it with regular brass dumbbell eyes, right down to extremely heavy tungsten eyes, and that's obviously just to help get it down to where you want to fish it. I think I've maybe taken it to the extreme in that I often fish it even on a 9 weight with a 4mm tungsten eye, even down to a 5mm tungsten eye, and super long leaders. That means you can fish it down to 2-3 meters in some cases, for species such as Grunter, cob. If you speed up the retrieve a little bit, leervis. The key to this, over and above the weight and the leader length, is the floating line. It gives it a very vertical action through the water column, which is a nice trigger for many species. I've tried to fish it on intermediate lines, and I think the success rate is much higher on a floating line. So that's really the gist of the fly and what its application is. This particular fly I found red to be a nice trigger on the body. So I like tying a red body, which I'll show you guys. So as I've mentioned, this is a very versatile fly depending on your leader length and your dumbbell eyes that you use and weight of eyes. Specifically for Grunter though, and I've observed them doing this, they flush out gobies, so out of little rock shelves or even in the sand, and I think that's what they're after. So in terms of your retrieve, you want to make sure that you fish a strip drop retrieve, so that fly is sitting on the bottom, and when you strip it, it's as if that Grunter has just disturbed a goby and is looking to chow it. So yeah, very versatile fly, can be used across species. As I mentioned before, if we have a look here, the red is for me a really nice trigger. Great, so cracking on with this fly, the materials we're going to use as follows. A hook. I mean, everyone that's tied a Clouser has got their preferences. For the purposes of this, I'm just using a Gamakatsu SL12 number 2. Obviously, we've got your dumbbell eyes. I've mentioned the importance of dumbbell eyes. This is just straight 2mm brass, so we'll likely fish it a little bit shallower. But as I say, I'll go right down to 5mm tungsten eyes, depending on depth and the level of jig I want to get on the fly. You got your thread, again, your preference here. I've got white bucktail and I've got olive bucktail, and I have got a little bit of crystal flash. And I mean, the key to any good Clouser actually is not to overcomplicate it and not to overdress it. Right, okay, so first thing first, we just lay a bit of a thread base for this fly. Again, any fly tyer with his salt knows how to tie a Clouser. But as I mentioned, I find the red body to be a trigger for this particular fly. I can't explain why, but the success of this fly has definitely been tested. Just tying in, as I mentioned, the 2mm brass eyes. Right, so what I also like to do is just taper the body a bit to get a bit of a profile on it. And then just like to put a bit of UV resin on the body. This is a bottle of UV seen better days, but just finishes it off nicely. It gives it a little bit of a smoother profile. There we go. Just cure that quickly with a UV torch. You can just twist the vise around, make sure you get all of that. What I often like to do is I tie these in batches. So what you do is you just tie a bunch of eyes and bodies in, do the UV resin, tie it off, and then you start your flower a bit later. Just invert your flower so you can tie your bucktail in. We're just going to go with your lightest color first, so I'm going to use some white bucktail. You also don't want to overdress it. You don't get that nice movement if you dress it too densely. Just take out the little bits and pieces. This is actually even a little bit too dense. And again, this fly in terms of length, for grunts you want to keep it fairly small. I would say about 7 centimeters max. But this is a great cob fly as well. In clearer water, caught a lot of cob on this fly, so on the red body as well. So like any Clouser, you want to tie the bucktail in front of the dumbbell eyes, bring it over the hook. Just done a few wraps, tighten it up a bit. Okay, then I'm going to add the crystal flash in. I haven't got the most amazing taper on the bucktail there, to be honest, but it'll do. Sort of, I'm a bit pedantic about getting the flash perfect on either side. I don't know, but it's just a personal preference. Okay, that's the crystal flash in. Just a bit of a trim there. Okay. Olive bucktail. Just trim off the edges a bit. Again, guys, sorry, this isn't rocket science in terms of flies. It's just a Clouser, but right, so that's the olive bucktail in. So you'll notice that the bucktail is quite clean in the front. Might seem simple, but basically you want to try and get it as flush behind the hook as possible, so you don't have to clean it up afterwards. But one of the mistakes I've made here is actually tying in the dumbbell eyes too far forward, which hasn't left me a lot of space to tie in the bucktail, but that's cool. I'm not going to tie it again, it does the trick. What I am going to do though is just secure it with a little bit of super glue here. So when I do pop the thread on there, it catches fast, and we actually finish this flower off that way. Take a little bit of that super glue out, and yeah, it's got a bit of an ugly nose, much like mine, but as I said, I didn't leave enough space, so just a little wood finish there. So if you want to, the key to a good Clouser as well is to try and keep the bucktail quite symmetrical on either side of the hook. Just adds a nice symmetry to the fly. And obviously as it moves up and down, I mean the hook is obviously going to move around, but I've got that okay on this fly. So, and then again, if you want to just really make it a little prettier, you can just pop a little bit more UV resin on it. Gives it a little bit of a shine. Color combo is one that's worked well for me. A lot of guys like, you know, yellow and white works pretty well. For me, the key specifically with the olive and white is the little red body. You can tie this in much larger sizes for cob, but don't overdress it. Try and keep it fairly sparse, especially in cleaner water. I just really find that works best. And that's it.
I